Have you ever wondered how the children of Adam spread across this vast, endless earth? How did humanity, born from a single pair, come to fill deserts, forests, mountains, and oceans? Dear viewers, this is your story. This is the story of your own journey, from Adam and Eve to every one of us today. Every struggle, every triumph, every heartbreak you are about to hear is a part of your own legacy. Before we begin, let's take a moment to see what the Holy Scriptures tell us about this journey. Bible, Genesis 4-10. The Bible speaks of the descendants of Adam and Eve, of Cain and Abel, of Seth, and the generations that followed. It tells us how humanity spread, multiplied, and how the early families faced trials and divine guidance, even surviving the great flood that reshaped the world. Torah, Genesis 1:28, 4-10. Similarly, the Torah recounts the command given to Adam and his children to fill the earth and subdue it, showing us that migration, expansion, and human survival were not just natural instincts but divine instructions. Quran, Surah Al-Araf 7:19-27, Surah Al-Baqarah 230-39. The Quran tells us about Adam, his children, and their journey. It speaks of the choices they faced, the guidance provided to them, and how humanity was destined to inhabit and thrive across the earth. So, with these truths in mind, let us dive into a story that is at once shocking, emotional, and filled with lessons for every one of us, for this is your story too. The first families and the pain of separation. Imagine the world after Adam and Eve. The earth was vast, wild, untamed. Every step they took was a step into the unknown. The children of Adam, though small in number, carried the weight of an entire human legacy on their shoulders. The first sons and daughters of Adam faced emotional struggles unlike anything we can imagine today. Cain and Abel, the first brothers, had the first conflict. A seed of jealousy, a spark of anger, and tragedy struck the family. Abel fell, and Cain was left wandering, exiled. Imagine the horror of being the first human to feel that kind of loss, the first to face grief so deep that no other human had yet felt it. And yet, even in this heartbreak, life continued. Adam and Eve wept, but they also guided their remaining children, teaching them love, patience, and resilience. From these small beginnings, families began to grow. Seth, the child of hope, carried a promise. And through him, humanity slowly multiplied. Yet, with growth came inevitable struggle. Imagine the fear of the unknown as early humans stepped further from the garden, leaving behind familiar ground to face forests filled with predators, rivers swollen with dangers, and mountains that seemed to pierce the skies. Every step was a story of courage, every choice a life or death decision. Holy Book perspective. Spreading humanity. The Bible tells us that the children of Adam began to call upon the name of the Lord, Genesis 4:26, which shows that even in these early generations, humans sought guidance, understanding, and divine help as they ventured into new lands. The Torah reminds us that God commanded Adam and his children to be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, Genesis 1:28. This was not just about survival. It was a call to exploration, expansion, and responsibility. The Quran, too, emphasizes that Adam and his children were taught by God, given knowledge, and guided to inhabit the earth wisely, Surah Al-Baqarah 231. Early humans were not left to struggle blindly. Divine wisdom shaped their steps, even amidst tragedy and uncertainty. The first steps into the unknown. Picture this. Small groups of humans leaving the lands where they were born, venturing into forests so dense that sunlight barely touched the ground. Rivers roared, like angry beasts, and predators lurked in the shadows. Some of these families never returned, swallowed by the wilderness, while others displayed extraordinary courage and ingenuity. Imagine the first fire they carried, its flickering flames illuminating faces filled with awe and fear. They huddled together at night, sharing stories, comforting the young, teaching survival. Every animal encounter was a test, every storm was a teacher. And yet, amid the harshness, moments of profound emotional beauty emerged. First laughter of children running through fields, first tears of reunion after days of separation, first whispered prayers in the dark, seeking protection from the unseen forces of nature. Humanity was learning, adapting, and slowly spreading across the earth. The pain and triumph of early migration. As generations passed, the children of Adam faced harsh conflicts within themselves. Tribes grew, and with growth came jealousy, competition, and fights for territory. Some of the first migrations were driven by necessity. Scarce water, failing crops, harsh winters, but others were born of human emotion, fear, greed, ambition. Yet, every hardship brought lessons. Families learned cooperation, built shelters from mud and stone, and discovered the first tools and weapons. Some learned to tame fire for warmth and protection. Others learned to track animals for food, to navigate rivers, and to read the signs of the sky for survival. There were shocking moments too: sudden storms, wild animal attacks, famine, and early battles. Imagine a child watching their parents struggle to survive, learning bravery and resilience is the only path forward. These are not just stories. They are the foundation of every human emotion and every human achievement. Holy Book's insight, moral lessons of expansion. The Bible recounts the multiplying of humanity and the moral responsibilities that came with it. God guided, warned, and sometimes punished, but He also promised hope and continuity. The Torah emphasizes human responsibility, teaching that expansion across the earth was not only physical but spiritual. Humans had to respect the balance of life, learn justice, and uphold compassion even amidst growing complexity. The Quran beautifully encapsulates this in Surah Al-Araf 7:31. Humanity is told to live moderately, to seek knowledge, and to navigate the earth wisely. Even in hardship, guidance exists, and every challenge is an opportunity to grow morally, spiritually, and emotionally. The first bonds beyond family. As humans spread, they encountered others who were distant relatives, forming the first alliances. Imagine early humans meeting strangers from another valley, suspicious, fearful, yet curious. Some encounters led to friendship, marriage, and merging of tribes. Others, tragically, led to conflict, betrayal, and loss. The shock of the unknown. That someone else, like you, but not you, exists beyond familiar borders, must have been terrifying and thrilling. These were not just physical journeys, they were journeys of the heart, of trust, and of discovery. Through it all, Adam and Eve's teachings echoed love, resilience, courage, and the pursuit of knowledge. Their children were learning not just to survive, but to live with purpose, to expand not only across land but across understanding and connection. The first lessons of humanity. Survival required courage and intelligence. Expansion demanded unity and moral wisdom. Life was fragile, but hope was eternal. Every step forward carried both risk and revelation. Humanity was learning what it meant to be human, to struggle, to love, to fight, to mourn, and to celebrate. Every smile, every tear, every loss, and every victory was a seed that would grow into the sprawling tree of human civilization. As we leave the first families of Adam behind, imagine humanity standing at the edge of the unknown. The children of Adam, small yet courageous, were ready to step into a world that seemed infinite and terrifying. Rivers roared, mountains loomed, deserts stretched endlessly, and forests whispered with unseen life. Yet, even in this vastness, humanity was guided, not by sight alone, but by the lessons of their parents, the divine wisdom passed down from Adam, and the instincts that stirred deep within their hearts. Remember, dear viewers, this is your story too. Every river crossed, every mountain climbed, every risk faced in this part of the journey is part of the legacy flowing through you today. The call of the unknown. First migrations. Why did humans move? Was it hunger, fear, curiosity, or divine command? Perhaps it was all at once. The Bible recounts, in Genesis 11, the story of the descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, families dispersing to inhabit new lands, fulfilling the command to fill the earth. In the Torah, the same story emphasizes human responsibility and the courage required to leave familiar grounds. The Quran, in Surah Al-Araf and Surah Al-Baqarah, highlights that humanity was destined to inhabit the earth, learn from it, and spread the seeds of civilization. This was not a random journey. It was a divine invitation to grow, to struggle, and to understand the world and oneself. Picture the first families leaving their valleys, carrying children, elderly, supplies, and a few precious animals. Each step into unknown lands was a test of courage. Some stumbled and fell, swallowed by rivers or lost in forests. Others endured harsh winters with nothing but thin hides and primitive fires to shield them. And yet, hope glimmered in their eyes, and resilience beat in their hearts. Shocking struggles of early humans. The journey was not smooth. Imagine a group crossing a wide river during a thunderstorm. The water roared, lightning struck, and some were swept away instantly. The screams of family members echoed, leaving survivors traumatized, yet they pressed on. In deserts, sandstorms blinded them. Children clung to their parents, terrified as grains of sand stung their skin like needles. Nights were freezing, with predators prowling nearby, testing every decision. And in forests, unseen dangers lurked. Venomous snakes, large predators, treacherous cliffs. Every day was life or death, every choice a gamble. Yet, amid this suffering, moments of triumph appeared. The first humans learned to construct shelters, to hunt cooperatively, and to cultivate small patches of edible plants. The first use of tools, sharpened stones, simple bows, wooden spears, saved lives. Humans were not just surviving, they were learning, innovating, and adapting to the world's harshest lessons. Holy Book's perspective, struggle and guidance. Bible. Genesis speaks of migrations, settlements, and the challenges faced by early humans. It emphasizes the moral responsibility of humanity and the lessons learned through hardships. Torah shows that expansion was not just physical, it was spiritual. Humans were guided to create communities, uphold justice, and respect the balance of life. Quran. Surah Al-Araf 7:31-32 reminds humans to live moderately, seek knowledge, and navigate the earth wisely. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:38 shows that even when facing challenges, divine guidance ensured humans could learn and grow. Forming the first communities. As humans spread, they began encountering distant relatives and strangers. Some met with fear and suspicion, but others found kinship. Small communities began forming near rivers, fertile plains, and sheltered valleys. These settlements were fragile but crucial. They provided safety, allowed cooperation in hunting and gathering, and enabled the passing of knowledge to the next generation. Imagine the first meetings. A stranger approaches cautiously, eyes wary, hands empty but open. Moments of tension hang in the air. Will it be friendship, alliance, or conflict? Some encounters ended in battle, but many resulted in marriages, shared food, and stories that strengthened the bonds of early humans. These moments shaped not only survival but trust, empathy, and the moral fabric of humanity. Shocking emotional episodes. Loss and sacrifice. Imagine a young mother losing her child to a wild animal while crossing a river. She grieves openly, but the group cannot stop. They must move forward or perish. The shock is immense, but it forges resilience. Betrayal. In some early tribes, jealousy led to betrayal. Siblings fought for dominance, and clans competed for resources. Yet, divine guidance reminded them of compassion, fairness, and the cost of wrongdoing. Moments of awe. The first humans standing atop mountains, seeing valleys stretch endlessly, rivers glittering in sunlight, stars shimmering like jewels above. In these moments, fear and wonder intertwined, teaching that survival was not just struggle, but also appreciation of life's beauty. The first signs of civilization. With time, humans began forming rudimentary structures, shelters, communal fire pits, and eventually small villages. Hunting became organized, and foraging methods improved. Knowledge was passed orally, through stories, songs, and warnings about dangers. Language itself began to evolve as a tool for survival and connection. Imagine the shock of realizing that the sound of your voice could convey knowledge, emotion, and instruction. The first teacher in a group showing a child how to craft a spear, a parent warning a sibling about river currents, a leader coordinating a hunt. These were the foundations of human society. The Bible and Torah both describe these early expansions, emphasizing not only survival but the establishment of social bonds, moral codes, and the seeds of governance. The Quran highlights that guidance, knowledge, and divine wisdom accompanied these expansions, teaching early humans not just to exist, but to thrive responsibly. Challenges of expansion across continents. Humans did not stay in one place for long. As populations grew, resources dwindled, and new lands beckoned. Some ventured into icy regions where snow and cold threatened life. Others faced vast deserts with scorching heat and no water. Every migration was a gamble. Succeed, and you thrive; fail, and you vanish. Imagine the first encounters with large predators, unfamiliar flora, or disease. Families lost members to natural hazards, leaving emotional scars that would be remembered in oral histories for generations. The Bible calls these early hardships tests of faith and resilience, while the Quran frames them as lessons in patience, wisdom, and reliance on divine guidance. Emotional and moral lessons. Unity and cooperation. Survival demanded teamwork, shared knowledge, and trust. The first humans discovered that without cooperation, extinction was imminent. Empathy and compassion. Witnessing suffering in family and strangers alike created empathy. Helping others became a survival skill and a moral imperative. Courage and sacrifice. Daily life was perilous, requiring bravery, endurance, and sometimes sacrifice for the greater good of the group. Every hardship, every victory, every heartbreak became a story passed down, building the emotional and moral foundation of humanity. Holy Books Insight, learning through struggle. Bible, early human struggles are depicted as lessons, shaping moral behavior and divine understanding. Torah, expansion teaches responsibility, social justice, and respect for others. Quran, challenges are opportunities for growth, reflection, and reliance on God's guidance. The journey itself is sacred, a combination of survival and moral evolution. As the children of Adam ventured across rivers, climbed mountains, and crossed deserts, a profound transformation began. The once small and scattered groups were now finding homes, forming communities, and planting the seeds of civilization. Every step they took carried not only their survival but the essence of what it meant to be human: resilience, morality, creativity, and the deep emotional threads that bind us all. Dear viewers, remember, this is your story too. Every settlement, every hardship, every lesson learned is part of the legacy that flows through you. The earth was vast, but humanity was learning to belong, to thrive, and to carry its story forward. The birth of the first communities. Imagine the first humans discovering fertile plains, sheltered valleys, and riverbanks that promised safety and sustenance. Families and clans began to settle, no longer constantly moving with fear and uncertainty. Yet, life was still harsh, unpredictable, and full of challenges. Settlements were small, but they became centers of cooperation. Adults taught children to hunt and forage, to respect nature, and to share knowledge. Elders recounted stories of distant lands, of ancestors' courage, of mistakes that must not be repeated. Communities became not just survival units, but repositories of knowledge, culture, and morality. The Bible, Genesis 10-11, describes these early generations as forming nations and tribes, each with their own stories, struggles, and destinies. The Torah emphasizes human responsibility within these communities, teaching that justice, empathy, and shared purpose were essential to human flourishing. The Quran, Surah Al-Araf 7:74, Surah Hud 11:61, speaks of communities learning to live together, guided by divine principles, moral codes, and the lessons of their ancestors. Shocking conflicts and emotional trials. Even in these communities, life was far from easy. Conflicts erupted over territory, water, and resources. Rival families sometimes clashed violently, leading to heartbreak, loss, and bitter feuds. Imagine a village watching as a neighboring clan fights for a water source, children crying in fear, elders pleading in vain. Such moments shaped the moral and emotional understanding of humanity. Courage, justice, and compassion were learned through real, painful experiences. Yet, in the midst of conflict, humans also discovered empathy and resilience. Communities learned to mediate disputes, share scarce resources, and celebrate survival together. Shocking events. Floods, wildfires, plagues of animals forced humans to adapt, innovate, and rely on each other. Emotional bonds deepened as humans realized that survival depended not just on strength, but on cooperation, understanding, and moral wisdom. Holy Books Perspective. Lessons of Communities. Bible. Early communities are depicted as learning to organize, govern, and uphold justice. The struggles they faced were lessons in morality, leadership, and divine accountability. Torah. Establishing communities is a moral imperative. Humans are called to care for one another, to resolve conflicts, and to live harmoniously while expanding across the earth. Quran. Communities are guided by divine wisdom, moral responsibility, and collective growth. Surah al-Baqarah 2:148 reminds humanity that every group, every tribe, and every community carries the weight of moral and spiritual responsibility. The first signs of culture and civilization. As communities stabilized, humans began to express themselves through early art, music, and ritual. They marked significant events: births, marriages, deaths. Through storytelling, songs, and symbols. These expressions were not mere entertainment, they were tools for preserving history, teaching morality, and strengthening bonds. Imagine the awe of the first festival under a full moon, families gathered, fires glowing, stories echoing in the night air. Children watched, hearts wide with wonder, learning courage, empathy, and the pride of belonging. These were moments of emotional depth and human connection that would echo through generations. The Bible, Torah, and Quran all acknowledge the spiritual and moral dimension of human progress. Knowledge, art, and shared culture were always intertwined with divine guidance, teaching humanity to balance survival with morality, curiosity with wisdom. Shocking moments of betrayal and sacrifice. Even in growing civilizations, danger and betrayal lurked. Early leaders sometimes abused power, families sometimes turned against one another. Disease, famine, and natural disasters struck without warning, testing every community's resilience. Sacrifice. Parents giving their last food to save children, elders risking life to protect the young, tribes abandoning personal comfort for communal survival. Betrayal. Rivalries that escalated to bloodshed, yet also creating opportunities for lessons in forgiveness and reconciliation. Every shock, every emotional trial, was a lesson embedded in the fabric of humanity. These experiences shaped how humans would relate to one another for generations to come. Divine guidance and the role of faith. Throughout these trials, divine guidance remained a source of hope and moral compass. The Bible shows God instructing humans, guiding leaders, and reminding them of justice and mercy. The Torah emphasizes adherence to divine law while building communities. The Quran highlights that every challenge, be it famine, flood, or conflict, is an opportunity for reflection, growth, and reliance on divine wisdom. Humans learned that expansion and survival were not merely physical, they were spiritual and moral journeys. The lessons passed down from Adam's children taught future generations to strive for courage, wisdom, and empathy in every endeavor. The legacy of early humanity. By the time communities were established across continents, humanity had transformed. From scattered families facing wild forests and roaring rivers, humans became organized groups capable of building shelters, forming social structures, and transmitting knowledge. Moral codes, empathy, courage, and resilience had been tested and strengthened. Every human today carries fragments of this legacy, the lessons, struggles, and triumphs of ancestors who spread across the earth. Each heartbeat is a reminder of those first steps, those shocking trials, and those moments of profound emotional connection. Shocking emotional highlights. A child watching a sibling rescued from a predator, the heart swelling with relief and fear simultaneously. A village mourning a flood that washed away homes and crops, yet uniting to rebuild. First marriages bridging distant tribes, creating bonds that expanded humanity even further. Families whispering prayers through the night, seeking divine protection, teaching early lessons of faith and hope. These moments were not merely survival stories. They were the soul of humanity, carrying emotional weight, moral lessons, and divine guidance. Holy Books perspective. Enduring lessons. Bible. expansion, morality, and communal life are deeply intertwined. Humanity is tested, guided, and taught lessons that resonate across generations. Torah. Communities must uphold justice, compassion, and wisdom. Expansion is both a physical and moral responsibility. Quran. Every challenge faced by humanity is a lesson. Surah Al-Araf 7:74 emphasizes gratitude, moral accountability, and learning from every trial. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:30 reminds us that humans are stewards of the earth, responsible for guiding themselves and others ethically. Final reflections and friendly endings CTA. And so, dear viewers, as we reach the conclusion of this chapter, reflect on the journey, from the very first steps of Adam's children, through rivers, deserts, forests, and mountains, humanity has survived, learned, and thrived. Every conflict, every moment of awe, every tear, every laugh is part of your story. This story is not just history, it is your own journey, woven into every step you take, every choice you make, and every connection you form. From the first families to the establishment of communities, from shocking loss to heartwarming unity, you are the continuation of this journey. Remember, dear viewers, this is your story. Follow it, cherish it, learn from it, and pass it forward. The children of Adam spread across the earth, but their legacy is alive in you. Every heartbeat carries their courage, wisdom, and hope. And as you walk your own path, know that you are part of this eternal story, a story of humanity, faith, struggle, and triumph.